Hey there, this is Christine Landl, and I am with my sister, my best friend, my business partner, Jennifer Ream, and we are so excited to be here on yet again another platform that we are creating and another chapter, another piece to our journey.
The Well Podcast. This is Jennifer Ream. So excited to be here with you guys. Our intention for this podcast is all about sharing our love for all things wellness, holistic wellness that is. And we are here to uplift, plant some seeds, and support you on your wellness journey. We've always loved being able to be out there with our community, sharing all the things that we learn. And as we grow and learn new things, we love to put them out there, and maybe they'll plant some seeds for you and help you along your journey. So here we are. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome back. We're happy to be here. We have a special guest, and it's the perfect time of year to have Kelcie Plamondon on. And she is a returning guest and a friend of ours and has been a longtime friend. And we all go way back with history with Kelcie. From a babysitter to swim coach for many of our kids. And it's so fun to follow Kelcie on Instagram and social media because it's been fun to watch your journey. One, because we're all very like-minded and have passions about many of the same things. So we're going to dive deep into hormone health today and nutrition and just helping everyone get on the right path for this year and all of our goals. So, hi, Kelcie.
Hello. Thank you for having me on again.
Of course. And if you haven't listened to our other episode with Kelcie, be sure to go back and listen to that one as well. But let's start off today with a question about your passions. So what are you finding that you're passionate about right now?
We caught you off guard.
Yes, you did. I'm like, oh my gosh. Right now, just emotional health. I would say really just taking care of your heart and what you need in the moment. And yeah, I know that's different than actual nutrition, but it definitely fits.
All tied in.
Yeah. It fits in the scope. So yeah, definitely emotional health for sure.
Oh, I love that.
I do love that.
Well,
we can't talk about that enough.
Right. And that is all encompassing into our wellness. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can be eating all the right things and your emotional health is, out in left field. And so your body's going to be thrown out of whack and it's not going to all flow. It's about that balance for sure.
And it goes back to what we've been saying for a while now, that we're moving into a heart-centered way of being. Mm-hmm. And so this is really top of the priority list for a lot of people. And it's really in their face in their own lives because it's for a reason. It's being introduced and things are coming up for a reason because it's a healing time. It's a growth time in an exponential way, not just like in your average lifespan way. No, there's a really big push for heart-centered living, and that always ties back to your emotional health and how you handle your emotions and work through those things. So
nervous system regulation.
Yes.
Really, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we're being supported energetically right now with everything that's going on to do this work and to have this focus. And so if a lot of things are being brought up right now, it's so you can move through them and heal them.
So before we move into hormones, what are you doing? What are you doing right now that's working for you from a emotional healing perspective?
Reading the Bible every day.
Good.
And I'm actually in therapy again.
Okay.
Just to try to learn different techniques. I always use the term passionate. I'm a very passionate person. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm learning if you emotionally feel off, don't just go. You need to kind of sit work through that before you do things that you regret doing.
React.
So yeah, react. So that's what I've been doing. And I've only been in therapy for a couple weeks. So I'm hoping that I get more techniques to use because.
Did you listen to our podcast with Lauren? Did it come out yet?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. It did. Okay. So, anyway, that we talked about that a lot, and she's a therapist, Lauren Peabody.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh,
no.
Okay. So she's been on before.
Yeah.
And
we talked a lot about parenting before, but this time was all about relationships.
One was about relationships.
Interesting.
And
personal growth.
Yeah. And her tools, like from a therapist perspective, like,
yeah, that's cool.
She's amazing, but you might enjoy that.
I'll have to look into her. Yeah.
You might enjoy that podcast. That she was on.
Okay. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
I don't really like the more like passive approach to therapy. Like when I go, I'm like, okay, I have a lot of shit.
Let's talk about it.
Let's just talk about it and help me like get the tools to work through it. Like I don't want to just sit there and have somebody listen to me for an hour. That's not productive. So yeah, I really like the upfront.
Type A personalities like to get some shit done.
Yes. I'm like, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. Okay. So give me all the tools.
Well, I think it's important for everybody to realize that we need a healthcare team,
yes.
a wellness team, and that therapy is such a great tool to have in our toolbox, and the right people and finding the right fit. Sometimes it takes a little while to find that right fit. But yeah, I mean, dive into it.
And good for you for recognizing that you wanted to add to your team right now, because I think that's a big part of it, is knowing when to call in the troops.
Yes.
And knowing when, like if you're struggling nutritionally or hormonally, like we're going to get into, or mentally, whatever it is, having your team in place and calling on certain individuals when the time comes, because it is a journey. It's not like a one-time thing. Like we all are going to go through stuff throughout our entire lives, like the entire time.
And it's okay. It's what makes you human. Like,
it's the process.
Yeah. I really get tired of people feeling like, oh, I can't show up as I am because of XYZ. And it's like, no, that's what makes you you. And something that I realized, because I always knew that I was more like empathetic, but sometimes like you actually need to work on that. It's kind of back to whether it's your childhood or some sort of trauma. And that's like what I'm really working through, is like, okay, what hit my nervous system that way, that I'm like sensitive in that way to, worrying about others rather than looking out for myself. So it's really interesting.
And it's very relevant to this time right now, because we were just talking about this, and because the energy is so intense, sometimes you're like, why am I feeling so anxious? Why does it feel so heavy right now? And oftentimes it's just because we're picking up on the collective energy around us. And
where your heart's like,
and that is literally the only reason. It can be just enough to where we have to go and do some work on ourselves.
Yes.
When there's also so much, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it is relevant. So it goes back to some other shows we've talked about, where there's a lot of light energy entering in the shift that the earth is making right now. There's a lot of light energy coming in. So it's changing our physical composition, and some are more sensitive to it than others. And some periods of time, you're more sensitive to it than others. So keeping that in the back of your mind, that this is part of what we're going through as an ascension process, as a global awakening process, like all of that is there's some serious science behind the amount of light coming in and how it's affecting us on a frequency base, which affects depression, anxiety, like all the things.
Yeah.
So
it's so interesting. Everything is so connected, and your body keeps the score on everything. So whether or not that shows up in like physical pain, emotional pain, like it's just eye opening. And sometimes I struggle with it too, because I can be pretty analytical, and I'm like, no, your heart can't drive everything. Like there's got to be a balance. And then I'm like, but this is showing up and I can't ignore that. So it's just, it's a very interesting time too. So,
well, when you're an analytical person, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that can relate to you on that, that is part of the journey, is learning to lead with the heart and have some kind of awareness about what that means for you physically and emotionally, and how you take it in, instead of analyzing the situation, because we all know how the monkey brain works and all of that. But leading with the heart is the key. And so it's finding that balance there.
Leading with the heart, and then also finding some data to support it.
Yes.
I think you do like all of that.
Well, the gut-brain connection is scientific, and it's actually not published yet in any sort of like textbooks, because I think it says it takes like 20 years to actually get research published or something. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, in our world, it feels like, we're still talking about that. Like, we know that, but it's not, not, you're right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because to all of us who live in this, wellness world, we've been learning about that for a really long time now, but it's not mainstream. And I think the more that comes out, the more people will connect the dots, for sure.
hopefully it comes out.
Yeah.
30 years, 20 years. So I think that, you know, the light coming in and living heart centered and all of those things obviously make a really big impact on our body and our health, but in our physical health too. But I think it's really important to touch on the nutrition and the hormone role too, because we know that depending on where you're at from a nutritional standpoint, that can affect your anxiety, depression, physical health, and your mental health. And same with hormones. And they're both connected, yet they're both also two pieces that you have to tackle separately too.
Yep.
So I would love to know some of your thoughts and insight on that, where you're at with that in your practice and how you work with your clients on that.
And how did you narrow that down to that's where you wanted to focus? Like, because you really do a lot of content on hormone health, and with your age and all of that, like what brought you into that kind of laser focus on hormone health? I'm assuming is your personal journey, but maybe share a little bit about that too.
Yeah. So a lot of it was my personal journey too. I started focusing on hormonal health for myself about like 2 years ago. And then I started doing testing and I was like, oh, wow, like I have mold, I have parasites. Like this is probably why my period is so painful. Like to the point where I would throw up, I would be white in the face. Like that's not healthy. And then also I wanted to be the voice for younger women that are on birth control too. And that's a hard line to, I guess, mess with, because my generation, I'm 28. I see so many women struggling to have children these days. And I'm like, that wasn't like that, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. And I'm like, what's going on? Why are people struggling? Why do people have to turn to IVF? And, I don't hold any judgment against that, but,
there's a root cause to this for sure.
There's a root cause. And, I learned so much about birth control and just how it changes your body's chemistry. Like it shuts off the communication between your brain and your ovaries, and that it's really interesting to read that women that are on birth control, when they meet their partner, once they go off of it, sometimes they're not even like attracted to them anymore. So it's so intense. And I was like, you know what? I want to focus on hormonal health, where I can teach women about supporting their blood sugar, the importance of eating, not just like eating 1,200 calories, because that's not going to do anything for you, but like actually eating, getting your body strong, your mind strong. And that's really, where I narrowed in my focus, because last year at this time, I think I was kind of just like general and broad, and I knew I wanted to help, but I just didn't know, where I wanted to stand out in the space. So, it's been really, the women that have came to me, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's very common.
Yes.
And it's such an umbrella term in the Western medicine sphere, because they just are like, oh, you're overweight, you have this, when really they're not looking at their blood sugar regulation. They're not talking about their diet. They're not looking at their thyroid health. So that's really, how I chose my focus. And I've really enjoyed all of the women that I have worked with so far. It's been mainly women.
Well, it's such a topic that affects every single woman. And at some point in your life, you're going to have to, pay attention to those things or become aware of it. Otherwise, you'll be dealing with healing your body.
Right.
But the problem is that we're not taught about it early on. There's no education when you're going through those stages of changing, and your hormones are changing at every stage, because it starts with puberty, and then you change with having children. And then if you, like you said, when you're on birth control, which everybody was just on birth control, like back when we were, in our early years.
And they also put so many women on birth control to regulate their period, not even having to do a sexual activity. You've got problems with your cycle, let's put you on birth control.
Let's talk about that. So what have you been learning and sharing on that topic alone, just with the fact that our conventional doctors have been just, putting women on birth control for managing their periods.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to be careful, like I said, because like legally I'm not allowed to just tell you to get off of it. That's not
we're not giving medical advice. We're sharing our personal stories.
There's your disclaimer.
I always will share articles with my clients because a lot of them have been on birth control and some have continued to stay on. They're nervous, to get off of it because they think that they're going to get pregnant right away. And I'm like, no, you can only really get pregnant like 5 days out of the month. And that's, your window when you're like super fertile before you ovulate. So I really encourage getting like the Ava bracelet because that tracks your body temperature and you can really like see, okay, this is when my cycle is, this is when I might be more hormonal. And I just try to be careful with like, the words I say, but I do encourage them to read the articles that I send and
understand it more about their body and how it's functioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that it's important. I mean, we're never giving medical advice, but I think it is incredibly important to share your knowledge and to share your experiences and to encourage people to do their own work and their own research, because bottom line is it's, you can't do that for someone anyways. You can't make their decisions for them. You can't take care of their body for them. Like that onus has to be on an individual, but it is incredible. It's incredibly important information to share because like Jen said, that was just the norm when we were in high school. And gosh, it's like one of those things. I have as well gone down the rabbit hole of that industry and I know what it can do. And so
it's disgusting.
But even women our age are being put in on it too.
We've watched it. So I mean, I can't, how many people that we know either couldn't have babies, like you said, or could have one and not again.
Right. And it's questionable when somebody in their 20s is struggling to have children. I mean, come on guys, like put your thinking cap on. Like that's not normal. And it really upsets me seeing like just women tear themselves down. Like, what's wrong with me? And then you try to be the voice in the positive way. And it's like, no, conventional medicine all the way. And I'm like, okay, I tried.
Yeah. And I think it's just planting the seeds right now with not only what birth control has done to us as women and can do, but also environmentally and how that's affected our hormones.
That was coming up for me during it. I mean, I think this is definitely a factor. It can be maybe a factor and a root cause, but environmentally what we're exposed to is, I think a huge aspect of it too.
Something that I like find interesting too is like, okay, well, why aren't men on birth control then? Why isn't there a pill for them? Why is it women?
Never thought about that.
It's just
very interesting.
It's just interesting. And I think women are slowly waking up to it.
And did you know that I just read in it wasn't until 1993 that women were really used in studies for anything because of our hormone fluctuations. So men were used for studies for everything. And we were just brought into the picture in the 90s. Like that wasn't that long ago. So if the pill's been out forever. Like, how did they do
60s?
How did they do studies
and
on
think
that?
about who our doctors were.
Men.
We didn't have, the OBs were men.
Yeah. And
very few women. We do now, but back then, very few women.
And they don't understand. And I mean, a man's hormonal cycle is 24 hours and a female's is 30 days.
Right.
So that's like biologically, like, men can usually handle stress easier, and I'm not being sexist when I say that. Like, it's just
science.
It's just science and
physiology. People,
yes, and people argue with that all the time. But I think like learning to teach women, let's get off birth control. Let's learn to
embrace our physiological bodies
and nature,
and you'll be more prone to like want to have a meeting, and like you'll be more productive when you're ovulating. And it's okay, like, when you're about to start your period, to feel like, I don't really want to do a lot right now. Like, I just want to rest. Like, that's just the female body, and it's okay.
Exactly.
You don't need to always be like on doing stuff.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack here. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's a huge topic.
It is a huge topic.
And I do feel like we're it's still on the forefront of, being taught and being exposed, because I do think there's some exposure here from that side of the industry. Thinks there's an industry around this, and we know, there's a lot of money behind it. And so
totally.
there's that piece of it too. Bottom line is, have this as a piece of your awareness in what could be contributing to some hormonal disruptions.
Right.
So when you're working with some of your clients, how do you guys start with that process of looking at where they're at with their hormone health?
So I have a system that I use. It's called NutriQ. So I run a 300 questionnaire report on them, and it kind of gives me a look at, okay, where's their thyroid health? Where's their hormonal health? Where's their digestive system? Because everything, I always start with digestion. Sorry. And we talk about diet. Okay, are you buying conventional foods, processed foods? Are you eating soy? And then something that's not really discussed a lot, I think it's coming more, is plastics. BPA, like that is a huge hormone disruptor. And when I actually started diving into the research on that, like, so the receptors in your body, when BPA like gets onto one of those receptors, your body doesn't know like what it is. And it ultimately is a toxin that shows up in your body, and it's crazy. Like just the amount of plastic we have in the world.
Yeah.
So we go there, and then we talk about like not microwaving our food. Like I understand, every once in a while you might need to pop something in the microwave. But that I always encourage. I'm like, just try, if you have to go to work, try to make something that doesn't need to be heated up.
Yeah.
And then I recently started adding in creating balance health scans, which are a bioenergetic scan that takes hair and saliva, and it will scan for any sort of resonating toxin. So a lot of times, like if women are really struggling to lose weight, I know that they have some sort of deeper issue, whether or not it's mold or parasites. And I'm not an expert in that by any means, but I know from when I did it on myself, my inflammation went away. Like I was able to actually start gaining muscle at the gym. Losing weight became a lot easier because my thyroid was functioning better by detoxing the mold and the parasites. So it's really just peeling back the layer one at a time. And I meet my clients where they're at. It's not, I don't have like a blueprint and I'm like, here you go. As much as like my analytical brain wants that, like this is the SOP for, how to work with you. But humans aren't like that. And you have to meet them where they're at, and you have to be able to pivot. And, that's
I love
the main
that.
focus. So
I love that. It's great that we have this technology now to use those tools to see where people, where their levels are with certain things. That's just becoming more and more important. And I think that will hopefully be more of our mainstream medical system eventually, where we are just naturally looking at the toxin levels, the micronutrient levels in your system, getting you directly onto the right supplements at the right time, and staying ahead of it, like being more preventative. And so that you're not 10 years down the road, like dealing with all the issues.
Yes.
So
something that has came up in my practice is I have like a handful of clients that have had their gallbladder removed. And it just shocks me that when that happened, their doctors never mentioned to them that they would need to be on any sort of like bile salts or any sort of digestion support. And I just say, do you know what your gallbladder does? And the answer is no. And they have no idea that it produces bile and it supports the digestion process. And that frustrates me because I'm like, let's just go to removing organs and not educating people on how to now support not having an organ.
Or why it's that way to begin with. That's the whole thing. It's like, well, why is there gallbladder issues to begin with?
Yeah. And you need a detox, gallstones. Everybody has them. Like you need to get them out. It's okay. And something else that I try to focus on too is, since I have a business background, I can see like, pharmaceutical and functional medicine, and I've gone down like the functional medicine route. I don't want my clients to be on supplements their whole life, because how is that actually being the change. If I'm like, yes, you need to be spending $200 a month for the rest of your life on all these supplements, like let's do the root cause approach and really detox. And then, you know, if you need like a liver supplement or something like that, because, you know, not a lot of people like to eat raw liver, which I don't blame you, but it's loaded with B vitamins. You know, that's completely different than being on a ton of supplements forever.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think supplements are just that. They're a supplement to all of the other healing modalities that you're doing. It's like you said, time and a place for them. They don't have to be permanent unless it's a vitamin or a mineral that we are lacking in our food, which we know that our soil is being
Or our
depleted.
water.
Yeah, or our water. We definitely know things are being added to our water.
High quality water filter.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, I think that it's supplement's a supplement. It's not supposed to be the end all be all. That's for sure.
Yeah. And not having people rely heavily on them too, because you can't out supplement a bad diet.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's a really great point, I think, that to make is that you cannot out supplement like what your day-to-day routine needs to be the majority of what you're, you know, getting in your system from superfoods to whatever it might be. So
right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different for everyone.
At different times.
Bio-individuality.
Yes.
For every single person. And then for the different cycles of your life, the different decades of your life, it's all going to change.
Seasonally too. Like as we're in the winter, we know like
seasonal depression,
where we know where we're at. We have to have vitamin D supplements. There's just no doubt. There's just, we have to in our, where we live. So, it's just understanding those connections too.
Yeah.
Seasonally. I can sit by the window in the cold, but it's just not
You need to get a red light and sit in the sauna.
I know. No, I know. I
have a portable sauna.
I know you do, and I love it. And it's
amazing.
Totally on my list. I'm trying to figure out where the best place for me to put it, because I want to get one that you can, the freestanding one that you build.
Yeah.
Same.
Those are better. I believe in, I mean, I don't have my forever home, so I just got a portable one.
No, yours is perfect.
Yours is great.
It works great in my little office.
Yeah.
And I sit in it and I read, or sometimes I watch Netflix in it.
So tell people which one you're using and how often do you use it?
So I have the Therasage one, and if my week is looking well, usually I'll go into it like 2 times a week. But lately it's been like once every 2 weeks, because I'm trying to get on a different routine and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I try to do it on a hair washing day.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're sweating and
because you're so
detoxing
sweaty. And I usually like to put castor oil on my liver before I go in, and then I'll take some binders. And then I sleep like a baby after I do it.
You want to explain that to people so that they understand what your thought
Why?
process is
Yeah.
around that? Because I mean, we
know,
it, but they probably people are like, she's doing what with castor oil?
I thought you put castor oil on your eyelashes to make them grow.
So castor oil on your liver helps the detoxification process. And I always make sure I have more liver support. Just, you know, from what I talked about like emotions earlier and everything, your liver is really like linked to that. So to make sure that pathway is open, and then the binders just bind onto any sort of toxins that are in your body that need to come out through drainage, which drainage is sweating and pooping. Some people say drainage is also crying, which, you know, that's pretty common. Like if you're in the sauna and something comes up, to like, you know, cry too. It's part of the healing process. So yeah.
I love it. Thanks for sharing. That's a good point to remind people about. That's just a great therapy.
It's good to let it out. Yeah. No, it definitely is. My sauna was actually my graduation gift to myself from nutrition.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting one of these, and it was a really good investment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great.
I love it.
And
Yeah,
it's a
on my
great,
list.
it's a great one for the new year to put on your list, your goal list.
Yes.
And
Therasage is a good company too. So
there's actually a lot of people, influencers. I don't know if you have one but that have discount codes for the Therasage.
oh, do they?
Yeah. I feel like Angie Fletcher does.
Oh, I love her.
I know.
She's so cool.
I know.
So affiliate marketing is actually really hard to like manage. So, I mean, I have an accountant and everything like that, but you know, month end, I always make sure to do my like taxes, and I'm like, it's so hard to track all these streams of income. Like I need an assistant, and I can't afford to have one yet with all of it. So That's why I don't have those yet.
It's on
I
your
have a
goal
couple.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely, 5-year plan.
Mhm.
So
There you go.
Yeah, well, it's good just to mention that that's why I wanted to mention what brand and stuff, because it's good for people to know what's available out there and what are good brands.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do see that one a lot by influencers that use that one and recommend it. So
yeah, it's a good company. They have a really good affordable water pitcher too that filters out all of the pharmaceuticals in water. So
good to know.
that's another thing I encourage my clients to do is get a good water filter
Yeah, I've been looking at the Berkey. I think I'm going to invest in that one.
in the Berkey.
Mm-hmm. Been hearing good things,
That's cool.
but it's important,
Yeah.
especially with that fluoride, people,
Yes.
and all the pharmaceuticals that get flushed into our water system.
Yes.
So let's talk nutrition a little bit, because
Yeah.
I think that's something that even if you're the most, you have a lot of awareness around nutrition, I think everybody still has to put effort into it and has to, I think it changes with your age. I think it changes with your cycles and your hormones again. That's all connected. And I would love to know just a little bit of your nutrition philosophy and where you start with that with your clients. Obviously, the gut brain connection is a big one. So I know nutrition plays a strong role in that.
And maybe connecting the dots with the hormones too, because I don't really think we touched on nutrition as it affects your hormones.
Yeah. So,
That's a lot in one question.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me figure out how
for
to break this down. So I'm very basic when it comes to nutrition. How did our ancestors eat? I really believe in ancestral eating and getting rid of as many processed foods as possible. So, for example, most people come to me and they're like, oh, am I not going to be able to eat like this ever again? And I'm like, no, not at all. We're just going to choose better options. So, for example, like gluten comes up a lot. And I'm not anti-gluten. I'm anti the glyphosate that is sprayed on everything. So you need to buy certain types of flours that have that label on it, that have like USDA organic, glyphosate. I'm not even glyphosate free.
Yeah.
And then, I'm protein focused too. So getting my clients to eat, organic chicken, grass-fed beef. That's always hard because when people come to me, they're not eating enough protein at all.
Mm-hmm.
And protein is the building block for every system in your body. So, there's that. And then really eating seasonally, like getting to know your local farmers, understanding what crops are in season. And then hormonally, again, this sounds like very simple and basic, but when you are doing those things, because meat is filled with all of the essential vitamins and minerals, your hormones will balance out. As soon as you take out all of the soy that creates havoc, the fasting, women really think that fasting is so good for them, and it's not.
Not in your reproductive years, that's for sure.
Not at all. Because when you're working and you start your day with a cup of coffee and then you're like all ready to go, you're hyped up, that creates that stress response in your body, and then you get anxiety, and it really messes up your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So
the cortisol that kicks in, and
I love that you said keep it simple, or that you said, oh, it's just really simple, but that is the truth of it. And it reminds me, because we were just live in our membership group this morning and we were talking about nutrition, and that was the main point we're trying to get across. Like, it doesn't have to be so complicated, but we are as a consumer intentionally confused by all the things out there.
It's the marketing.
Yeah, the marketing is confusing.
Yeah.
And you got to do this to look like that. And
the food industry in general is confusing by the amount of things that are out there that they call food.
Yeah.
It's not food.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's so confusing
Yes.
too. It's the industry that made it confusing. Yeah.
And if you can't understand, like if there's a word on your food label that you don't understand, I'm like, don't eat it then. Like, if you have to go look it up and see exactly what it is and it's questionable, stay away from it. Shop your outside parameters of your grocery stores. There's also a lot of good like meal delivery services too, like if you're short on time. But yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. Like, keep it simple, keep it real food. Don't focus on your calorie intake. If weight loss is something that you want, I always encourage focus more on your macros. Like see, are you getting 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body fat? Like if you want to lose fat. So I try to shift the focus in that way too.
Yeah, I think that it's a big thing that we discuss regularly is the macronutrient intake is where your focus should be. If you want to release weight, yes, you do need to be in a little bit of a deficit.
Right.
That is a thing. There is a whole thing around that. But truly, if you wanted to keep it simple and and that's just your goal is to release some weight, it's just focus on the real whole foods. I mean, in the short term, we know that any diet or fad that you're going to push that's a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. That's just like, energy in and energy out and all of that. But it really, when it comes down to a sustainable lifestyle, it has to do with the whole foods that are coming from the earth and the protein, which is, also the source and the quality is of huge importance.
Yes.
So are you contributing to inflammation in your body or are you not? Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And speaking of inflammation, that's the focus in my practice too, because I teach my clients to support their blood sugar. So it doesn't matter if you're type 1 diabetic or you're type 2, everybody needs to have the blood sugar mind.
Or if you're not even diabetic.
Yes. Like everybody needs to be aware of, okay, what is blood sugar? Like, if I eat carbs by it themselves, like that's going to create that roller coaster effect. And then I'm going to have more blood sugar floating around in my bloodstream. And when you have more sugar in your bloodstream and your cells are not receptive towards it anymore, that's what creates the inflammation and the insulin resistance. And so everybody needs to be aware of that. Like, I think even, getting your kids to focus more on eating protein, fat, and a carbohydrate at a meal, because that will affect their focus, their energy,
their mood.
Everything. Yes, their mood. Like mood is huge. Huge. We live in a moody society.
Well, we know that sugar contributes to mood for sure.
Yeah,
we all feel that, even just from a glass of wine, like the next day. And
yes,
I think it's important to, especially if you're new on this journey of health and wellness and nutrition, to not have any guilt or shame around what our society has created, because it's created a society to out of convenience and fast and what's the quick and easy fix. And so fast food, grocery store shelves, ready-made foods and packages, like that's what our industry has created. And so because we had for so long, we had, like most of us are listening are probably in this had world, but because we had such blind trust in our three-letter governments to have our best interest in mind, to have our health best interest in mind. Because of that, we trusted everything that was on the store shelves. And so it led now, like we just talked about, the 20 to 30 years later, we realize what that has done to our country. And from a chronic illness, and it's mostly from lifestyle creation. So it's important that everyone realizes that if you are new on this journey, that it's not your fault, and it's never, no matter how long it takes, it's never too late to get on this journey to create wellness in your life and to take it really can be a pretty quick process if you just make some simple changes to your diet.
Yeah, you'll see. I mean, even just prioritizing diet, a lot of my clients struggle to work out. So I encourage them to just walk. Walking is like one of the best forms of exercise, and then sleep, stay off your phone before you go to bed. That blue light really interferes with sleeping. And I feel like a lot of people still don't put a lot of emphasis on how important sleep is, because that's when your body's repairing.
That goes back to the whole culture thing again too.
Yes.
Like we were just multitask and do, and like there was no emphasis on just beingness and resting and getting the right amount of sleep. Like you just didn't, it wasn't the cultural norm. And I think it's important to mention too, when you were talking about our country with nutrition and the way we've been educated or, lack of, misguided, I would say, that it's not that way in other countries.
Right.
So
go to Europe.
It's very interesting when you hear from people who travel a lot and what they're able to eat what bread they're able to eat when they travel out of our country and what they can eat when they can't eat when they come back.
Right.
Because it's so toxic to their body.
Right.
And so it's an important distinction to make. It's definitely been our country and that has taken us down this really unfortunate health path.
Yeah. And it's became political too, unfortunately.
Yes.
It contributes to the divide, which is just
immense.
Ridiculous. And even like I added raw milk into my diet like last year around this time. And I remember people being like, oh my gosh, you're drinking raw milk. And I'm like, yeah, it has such good probiotics in it. And, I mean, I'm not drinking a gallon of it a week because I'm an adult and I don't need that, but it's nice to have it in my coffee, and it's filled with essential vitamins and like really healthy fats. And if you can find it from a farmer that has grass-fed cows, I mean, support them, try it out.
Because they're the brave ones too.
I was just going to say, because I just read not that long ago of farmer being shut down because he was selling that.
Yeah, not that the other ones aren't brave, because sometimes it's just the easy road to take because their hands are tied.
Yeah,
these farmers' hands are tied.
How bullshit is that they have that they will come in and shut you down because you're serving something that is
it's
what they
considered
deem
illegal.
What they deem not healthy for you.
Yeah, and the way that you can legally do it is you buy like a share in the cow, and then you go and pick it up.
Own that cow, and you own that milk.
So that's the way that you're able to do it, and it's different by each state. So in Michigan, that's what you have to do. You have to go buy a share of the cow, and then you go to the farm and pick it up.
Good for you.
So
well, that's
great tip. That's
not much different than the juice that the juice has so much red tape around it. It's like, are you kidding me? We can go buy a salad from anywhere, and we can't go buy a juice or a salad juice, or so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's
probably something to do with the bacteria, but
it is. Yeah.
I mean, silly again.
Yeah. Well, I think that the bottom line is with all of this is we have to be our own health advocate. And we have to have a team that surrounds us that can support you in all of these little avenues, from your therapist to your nutrition and health coach to your whether it's your personal trainer or someone that you're using from YouTube to exercise. So it's all of these mind body system balances and practitioners that we need a part of our team. So it's the awareness around it. Of course, we're a no judgment zone because everyone is in a different place at this time, but just to know that there's people out there that want to advocate for you and to help you get back onto this road to wellness. And that, yes, our environment has a lot of manipulation right now that is creating some toxicity around us, that we have to do this extra work right now. It is more imperative now than ever that we hop on this wagon and really start to advocate for not only ourselves, but our children and grandchildren and for the future generations. Yeah. It's changing right now, and we are a part of it, whether we like it or not. And it's time to just hop on.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's one of my huge motivators is I've always wanted to be a mom, and I dream of having a bunch of kids, hopefully one day. And I'm like, my kids are going to know to question everything. Like, they're going to know how to advocate for themselves, and they're going to be healthy too.
Yeah. And I think it's so cool because we have witnessed as our age group now, the transformation, like our personal transformation of like, God, Christine, I say all the time, oh my God, can you imagine if we could go back now in our 20s and do it differently? Yeah. We would, but we are part of, we feel like this is our mission right now. And our passion is to help those at our stage and those like you that are in their 20s, where we can plant the seeds now and be like, okay, listen, we need to create the new way of living with our food and our health. And we can't rely on other agencies and people to tell us how to do that. We need to create it. We need to be the ones that are like on the forefront of all of that, doing things differently. And that's been, we're used to doing that. We're always, we're always the ones that are
There's a lot of pushback in that.
You feel uncomfortable because people are like, no, be quiet. And you're like, no.
No, I'm not. I didn't show up here in this crazy ass world to be quiet. Yes. Especially about things I'm passionate about.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely how I feel. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? God took me on this path to holistic health, And, you know, I have a business background. I have a full-time job too. And I'm like, but this is my passion project and this is why I'm here. And I've been through a lot in my 20s too. And my whole thinking process has completely changed. And I'm like, this needs to be shared.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I think we have a lot of young listeners too, and moms that listen to this that have younger children that I feel like things start to come out in our late teens, early 20s, where we start to feel like something's off. Maybe it was the birth control, maybe it's the environment, maybe it was the food that we ate as a child, like whatever it is. And I just think that you are such an asset to even that, especially that group and that demographic to help them. You've been there, you've done that, and
I've done everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything.
And that's kind of that's the gift is like you learn and then you share it and you help people to not have to take the long, hard road, which many of us have taken so that we can do these things.
Yeah. And that's just part of the journey.
Yeah.
We still do. Still in the school of hard knocks in a lot of different ways.
Oh, for sure. That's what life is.
It's just why we're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where my degree is from.
And it's a gift. It is truly a gift and an honor to be able to do it. And then, share our passions with everybody else.
So how can people find you and work with you?
Instagram.
So
my handle is Kelcie's Wellness Corner. And in my bio, I have a link where you can book a free discovery call with me. And from there, we just talk to see if we're a good fit. And if we are, you can come into my 3-month Happy Hormone coaching program.
Oh, Happy Hormone. I like that.
Love it. Cute. That's a perfect. I think it's also really important just because Jen and I have been doing this a long time. And of course, everyone knows we've had a few businesses down the road. This is an investment in your health that you just, sometimes people need to have some perspective around that, and hiring a coach or a personal trainer or going to a functional medicine doctor. Yes, it's money coming out of your pocket because insurance doesn't cover it at the moment. That's okay. Like you have to what can you do? Let's say that you don't go to Starbucks every day. Like literally that would be probably what it costs to do these programs, or cutting out your fast food, or just some little things. But we can promise you one thing, that investing in your health in this way is life-changing. And it's a game changer. It's just the way that we're moving forward.
It's setting you up for success long-term to do things on your own. Like, so if you invest, like how many times have we invested in different things over our like business coaching and things like that?
I do it regularly.
Yes, so do I. Every year.
Yes.
Every year I choose
always
something.
Like I did a course not that long ago, and it's like, it's just constantly like educating yourself and up-leveling what you're doing.
Empowering.
Empowering yourself to make different choices that are better
also
for
a
your
tax
health.
write-off.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
Yeah.
under continuous education, I'm not an accountant, but it is a tax write-off. So
There you go. I love it. Now, and I think you're going to offer something for Vibe Well customer or, clients, or if you're listening to the podcast, and if you mention Vibe Well, then
you will get $150 off my 3-month program.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
Take advantage of that in this new year of 2023.
Yeah.
Can't believe we're already 2023.
Oh, time is flying right now.
It's insane.
Yeah, it needs to slow down a little bit.
A little bit. Well, got to be present in the moment, right?
Yes.
It slows it down like just a millisecond, I think.
We're in some fast times.
We
right
are.
now.
That's
There's
for sure.
No doubt about it.
Buckle up.
Yep. So, well, thank you, Kelcie,
Yeah, thank you
for coming.
I love chatting with you guys.
Yeah, let's
love
do this
chatting.
again.
Yeah, we'll do it again for
Definitely.
sure. When you you have something else you want to passion about.
Of course. There's so many passions.
I mean, we could dissect each of these topics that we talked about today.
Right, for sure. And thank you all for joining us. And don't forget to go check out Kelcie at Kelcie's Corner.
Kelcie's Wellness Corner.
And I'm going to put it in the show notes for sure.
Perfect.
And so don't forget to go check Kelcie out. And, obviously you can reach us at drinkjuice@vibewell if you have any questions or comments. We would love to hear from you.
Thanks for being here.
Happy hormone health.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again, friends, for joining us today on our latest podcast episode. We love sharing this with you. So please share the love if you feel called to all your friends and family.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on what we're going to talk about next. It's always so juicy.
And of course, you can find us on social, Instagram, Vibe Well Lifestyle, and Vibe Well on Facebook. Love y'all.
And if you're in town, make sure you stop by and see us at Vibe Well too.
Yeah, we would love to see your cute face.
See you soon.
Bye.